Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is okay. So hard.
All right.
This is
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is TalkGA, our very first episode of our podcast, TalkGA with Solar Games. And joining me here today is my co-hosts, Fome and Eva. So, being that it is our first episode ever, we are going to do a little bit introduction of ourselves. So, Fome, let's. How are you doing? And also, second question is, what brought you to Grand Archive?
Yeah, doing good first. Thanks for having me on episode of Solar Games. This is a dream come true.
Great.
And let's see, I found out about Grand Archive from Anime Expo 2022.
Okay.
And just looking at like the aesthetics of it, and then going online, finding out about the mechanics, and it being kind of like magic in certain aspects of it, got me really interested. And then it just got more and more interested in, started trying out the game, and that's how I got into it. And then eventually I ended up being the tournament organizer for Victory Point Cafe, where we're all playing now.
That's right.
Yeah, and just really enjoying the game.
Excellent. All right, Eva, how are you doing?
very nervous, but good.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Well, let's try to break the ice a little bit. How did you get into Grand Archive? I mean, I know Sean got in.
Break the ice.
Yeah, break the ice. How did you get in Grand Archive?
Yeah, this fellow named Fome was like, I heard about this cool new anime card game, and I was like, I like card games. I'll give it a try. And we've tried a few card games together before, but none of them really stuck with me until Grand Archive kind of checked off all of my boxes. So.
Did you ever play Magic?
I've tried it.
I tried to get her into
tried
Magic.
It.
And then also Flesh and Blood.
Yes, I tried it.
Wow.
I enjoyed it, but didn't really want to stick with it.
Fab is pretty next level for sure. Yeah.
Oh, it hurt my head too much, which is why I stopped playing Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Well, I'm Mark. I also want to share how I got in Grand Archive. Well, part of it is actually because of Fome here. So this is April this year at MXP Oakland. This is a Magic event we were at together. And then towards the end of day one, I think, or day two, it's like almost midnight.
I brought my kids.
He brought his kids, and he's like, all right, do you want to try a new card game? I'm suspicious, but, I'll try it. Of course, he doesn't tell me too much about it. He just says, it basically the rules is very similar to Magic. Read the cards, explains the card. I'm like, all right, I know how to read the cards. Mm-hmm. So I open and look at these cards. I'm like, all right, so I feel like I already got scammed because we got anime waifu girls everywhere.
You were so embarrassed. You're like, I can't be seen with these cards here.
Dude, you gave me the Lorraine deck, and I was like, what is
What's wrong
this?
with Lorraine?
No,
it was Lorraine
she's
versus
very,
Rye.
very beautiful lady.
And I said, do you want to play just like a mid-range deck with attacks, or do you want to storm off?
Yeah. Anyways, I played one game. I thought it was really fun, and it really got me interested.
Yeah, I've never seen you so intensely playing a card game before, including Magic.
Yeah. That drive home, I was like, because I lost both games.
Yeah,
I think we played.
You messaged me on the drive after you got home, and you're like, "Dude, what did I do wrong?"
Yeah. Because you were telling me Eva was winning with the Lorraine deck. I'm like, how's she doing that? Because I was losing to the Rye. Like the Rye basically does nothing, right? And then does 22 damage or whatever, right? And I'm like, what is this? For free, right? And I'm over here poking for 1 damage, but I need 20 turns.
You're like saying, "Oh, these decks don't seem very balanced."
The whole time I was thinking Lorraine is so bad, right? That was day one. That's how I got into Grand Archive and just basically never stopped.
Yeah. Good times.
Kept on going. All right. So today we're going to talk, start off with some news of Grand Archive, and then we're going to talk about, DOA, as we are at the end of DOA's season 1, if you will. Dawn of Ashes. We're going to give a proper send-off for Dawn of Ashes. And then we'll hop right into talking about FTC's release, which just happened this past week.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's talk about news. So 2 pieces of news that came in this week. Earlier on August 25th, right, hot off the press, we have the new BNR announcement. So what happened, Fome?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing has changed.
No, it means we can play our Anime Expo promos now.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I forgot.
We
can play our Imperious Highlanders. Have been unbanned, strongest card in the meta.
Correct.
So underrated.
But yeah.
So tell us a little bit. The fact that nothing has happened also, I think, means that it's very important that nothing happens.
I agree 100% with the decision. We just got a brand new set that's going to include a lot of the tools that will address the cards that people have been historically complaining about, namely Reckless Conversion, like Ascension into Avarice to draw a gajillion cards. I think that they're aware that in this new meta, there's so many. First of all, not even just directly at those cards, but the decks that they support won't be as good anymore. So, for example, Lorraine, there's just so many answers that can like fizzle attacks now. So just things that rely on a single big attack are going to be a lot worse overall. So there's no need to like further nerf her tools. Rai might still be pretty good, but we are getting Tithe Proclamation.
Yes.
So a Rai can't just like
Hold 'em down.
willy-nilly draw their entire deck.
Hold them down. Yeah, I don't want to see these Rise draw like 50 cards and then Scries for 17.
Yeah, and nobody wants to sit there when they reckless and you have to sit through another 15 minutes of them
We're done.
going through their storm and death turn.
Did you know, by the way, with Tithe, drawing into memory is a draw?
Yes,
Yep.
that's right.
I did not realize this. I was like, oh, okay, so we're really screwing over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So don't let people get away with that.
yeah, that's
We're
right.
policing everything now.
Place everything. That's right. Yeah. So, thank you for that update. I also noticed there was a little bit of a errata for some FTC cards. Can you just cover? I think the one that's really important, the Viridian.
Yeah, the most important one. There's like kind of two mechanically relevant erratas. The most important one is the Viridian trinket. Is that
Protective trinket.
a Viridian protective trinket?
Yes.
So this is like the anti-water trinket.
Yep.
Boo.
Yeah, Eva has some choice words about this errata.
Some opinions.
Originally, the trinket was you banish it, and during that turn you banish it, your opponent's water activation costs 2 more.
Yep.
But now it's a static effect that as long as the trinket is on the board, your opponent's water cards cost 2 more to activate.
And that's drastically different.
On your turn.
Right, and that's drastically different from the fire and the wind versions, which you still have to banish.
Yeah,
right?
they're still like single use, and then they,
wow.
they have some effect and it's done. This is forever. When it's your turn,
Wow.
your water opponent would spend 2 more to be able to activate their water cards.
Okay.
Yep.
So it'll affect any kind of counter play.
Sure.
It'll affect defensive spells,
Defensive,
healing, water barriers,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So yeah.
This card is single-handedly forcing me to play Fracturize, which is already a good card, and I probably would play it, but it is making it like I have to play it or else I'll just like die.
Yeah, and Fracturize is a very good card.
Yeah.
Also true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, the other one is I don't know how often this will come out outside of sealed, but Intrepid Spearman. It went from like godly, not unkillable like thing to being like kind of just annoying. It used to be that whenever it was attacked, it had an ability where you could check your memory, and if you have a wind, it would prevent 3 damage. And every time it gets a hit, it would trigger this effect.
Okay.
But they've errated it so that it triggers only once per turn.
Once per turn.
So
okay.
that you could hit it once, it will proc the effect. Then the next time you hit it, it wouldn't happen again.
Okay. Cool. So another piece of news that we got this week was that there's going to be some sort of online tournament play that's official, event lease. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Who has it up? Eva has it up?
Yeah, I pulled up the article.
Nice.
So they announced an online league for webcam tournaments, and they've announced 5 regions. They're going to be region locked so that there's less latency issues.
That's smart.
Yep,
good
paid
idea.
entry, cool prizes.
Yeah.
Should be good for just like community building because a lot of people don't have a lot of locals that they can
for
play
sure.
with.
Really good for like accessibility for like, we're really lucky we live in NorCal that there's a lot of stores here that have regular events, but not everybody will have that kind of community. So
Yeah.
this will be really great for them.
Yeah.
My only concern is maybe like in terms of it might be easy to cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people know what Mark is referring to, which
Yeah.
is like the infamous Digimon card in the mouth
Yeah.
webcam situation.
The guy drew like 6 cards. He should have only had, let's say, 4. The judge came on the webcam and says, "Lay your cards down." He basically ate his card to dodge the judge. It's pretty funny.
Just like,
Yeah, it's a great video. Yeah, it's probably you can find it online somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll link it if we find it.
yeah, so it's like hard, especially as these are paid events, right? And people are gonna get actual physical prizes.
Yep.
So the incentive is there to try to cheat.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Yeti and these other organizers have some mitigation strategies to prevent that. I mean, you played some of those tournaments, right?
Yeah, most of these tournaments, the webcam is set up in a way where you do have to show your hands, and I think the rules do say something like your hands and the cards in your hands and all cards on table must be seen at all times. Actually, the bigger problem with a lot of these webcam events, myself and Benton felt the same way, was the glare. Sometimes you just can't read the cards, and it's very awkward to keep asking people, "Can I see that card? Is it a 2/4?" Especially in the beginning when we played like any Sylvie player, I don't know what water cards do.
Yeah,
so I'm like, "Can I read what this
You don't know
line
any
does?"
of the Sylvie cards.
And it was just really awkward because it slows down the game a lot, right? Not being able to reach across the table, pick up a card and look at it, put it back, that kind of stuff. So that's my only other concern. I don't look. Yes, are there possibly cheaters? Of course. I tend to think that in general the community is very, very good. People are just willing to kind of have a community to play cards with. It's like 1% of the bad apples, So guys, don't be shitty.
Just gotta be careful about that.
You just gotta be careful. But the reality is, like, look, cheating can happen anywhere. So you have to, as a player, you do have to be vigilant.
Yeah, the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah,
the pros definitely outweigh the cons. I agree. Yeah.
Just don't be a shitty person.
Correct.
Yes.
TLDR.
Correct. TLDR. All right, so let's go into our first topic of our podcast today, which is DOA Sendoff. So at this point, we are at the end of Dawn of Ashes. As you know, we've had, I guess the meta's been around for, if we count the days of printable decks and the cards being previewed and TTS availability, it may already been almost a year. But for everyone else that found out about this game in April when the game was actually officially released, we've had about 4 months worth of meta. Playing the game, the meta is developing over time, which is very impressive actually, even how much has changed from April to now, meta-wise, right? Yeah. Obviously the BRNR helped a little bit. But what are your impressions overall with DOA? Talk about anything.
It was fun.
Good.
Good.
Game good.
Good stuff.
Game fun.
For our first set, especially,
yeah.
I think it was a home run. No matter what game it is, the first iteration is not going to be perfect. You're going to have strategies that emerge as being dominant.
Yeah.
But the fact that those dominant strategies have kind of almost self-policed throughout the months, like you see, Win Lorraine, Ferrari Win Lorraine being number one, and then Rai coming being the best, and then Fire Lorraine, and then different versions of Fire Lorraine with the kind of keep your hand size big Lorraine versus the aggressive allies Lorraine. I know it sounds like we're just saying different flavors of Lorraine, but I guess there is, the only blemish being that Tamer is not super viable, and it's kind of a more of a there not being a deep enough card pool to support allies, and in this game allies are super vulnerable in general. If the Tamer relies on the allies being on the board, and unlike Magic where you need removal to kill allies, in this game you just attack them. And then there's cleave in every color.
There's barely cleave in blue.
I mean, Tidal Sweep is super good.
You get the right sword.
No, the fact that blue
you get a sealed blade.
I mean, water shouldn't even have cleave though. Water is a defensive color. Why does it have cleave also? It does everything, even though it's kind of inefficient at doing it.
So Eva, you play a lot of water decks. What do you think about water in DOA?
I'm happy we have better water cards now. I'll say that. I'm glad people are acknowledging that there are 3 elements in the game now.
Freezing hail is not good enough for you?
It's good.
Well,
but
it only became good after the DG.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Not having it. Yeah, you wake up anyways. Yeah, that's true. Okay. What else? Eva, anything you want to talk about with DOA?
Yeah. So as a stubbornly non-meta player, I mean, I think we can all kind of agree that the meta in DOA was slightly narrow. But I do think it was kind of intentionally done, right? Because it is just set 1.
Yeah.
It sounds like the devs did want it to be a bit slightly more straightforward for new players to pick up.
Makes sense.
Just be driven to just the main characters like Rai and Lorraine, and not be too overwhelmed by too many different mechanics and metas to figure out, right?
Yeah, and I kind of agree that starting simple is better. But even with that simplicity in terms of like the number of viable decks, even a mirror match in this game seems like really intense.
Yeah.
Like really calculation and skill intensive,
Yeah.
and it's still fun to play.
Yeah.
Which is, I'll be honest, it's not fun for me to play mirror matches in Magic.
Dude, I was just gonna say
Like,
yes.
Like if I were playing mono red versus mono red in Magic, it's like who has the better hand? Who won the die roll first?
Yeah.
Who has the better opening hand?
Yeah.
And then like my hand just plays itself.
And that's the best mirror match you got in Magic because the
'cause it
blue
ends
versus
fast.
blue one.
Oh my god!
Are you kidding me? We're just
shoot me
no
right
one's
now.
doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting for you to cast a spell so I can counter your spell. Oh, well, I'm waiting for
mean-
you to counter my counter spell so I can counter your.
Like, yeah, but you know how long like the water mirror matches go
Oh,
now.
I'm very familiar.
But in Magic,
worse.
it's
worse.
like because it's like all about counter spells, and we just got counter spells in Fractured Crown. But in Magic, blue is like the counter color.
Right.
So it's just like I play a land pass, and then it goes like this for like an hour.
Yeah. And every card is like slow you down, right? Like everything costs more. Oh well, you can't cast instants anymore. Like it's like things like this.
Three fairy.
Oh gosh. Everybody who
God.
knows me in person knows my least favorite character of Magic, which is Teferi. I effing hate Teferi. Every time I see it, I just want to like. I see
This is
Teferi
like a
on
card
Arena,
that basically-
and I just quit. I just GG. Right. I throw up GGs. I just go to next game.
It's a card that basically
that
just
card
says
so
like, oh, you don't get to play, only I get to play
Yeah.
for like a
That's
blue
fun,
mirror
right?
match.
Great Magic card.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
imagine the Viridian Trinket, but it says like I get to do a bunch of other stuff and you don't get to do anything.
Yeah. No, it's even better. It's like my spells cost less, your spells cost more. That's literally
That's
what
kind of like
Teferi
it.
does. Yeah.
It's like
It's
basically
way
how it
worse.
feels.
I'm like, it's terrible. Sorry.
I love our podcast, Talk MTG. It's great.
It's
going great.
It always Yeah, you're right.
It's hard not to make
Okay, look.
analogies.
I understand.
I do have something to say about some metas, right? I felt like Fire Xander had a day. Or
Yeah.
had a long period. I mean, didn't Fire Xander win some regionals
Because
too?
people, when you're not
right?
prepared for it, it just comes out and like turn 3 does like 20 damage or something like that.
And there was like I want to say there was like a TTS tournament or something, like some tournament where Fire Mortrid with the whole Rhapsody, but also like the Rending package, right? You can go like I think it's Mortrid Lorraine type of thing, or was it like Lorraine Mortrid or Merlin package, where you can go like spell or sword. Was amazing too. I mean, it caught a lot of people off guard, and I think it won number 1 or something. Yeah, that package. So even back then, there was a lot of meta still undiscovered, right? From DOA, it definitely felt like there's a lot of that too.
And then our friend was saying if the meta kept going, he had even more new tech that is not going to be discovered anymore because Fractured Crown is about to come out.
That's right. Yeah, it was yesterday actually. Yeah, we were playing at FTC pre-release, and then my friend was basically just said like, oh man, I wish we had 2 more weeks of DOA because then that means I could try this other deck. And he's telling me about it. I'm like, I could see it. I don't know if it would be competitive, but the fact that he has this idea and he wants to try it, and this guy also top 8, I think, top 8 at regionals. So he's
like
not
you.
a bad player.
Like you, brother.
Yes, correct.
Hey.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to the second part about DOA Sendoff, let's talk a little bit about store championships. As I understand, Eva, you compiled some stats for us for the store championships. Some
Yeah.
interesting factoids you want to share with us?
Sure. So I think something we definitely wanted to highlight was just how great our blooming community here is in Northern California.
Yeah,
It's like
NorCal represents.
So lucky.
like not only do we have so many strong players, like in the Southern California regionals, 4 out of the top 8 were from NorCal.
We actually had
this
like
guy.
7 out of 16, I think, were NorCal as well.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
really
16,
cool too. But
16
4 out of top 8 is slightly more impressive. to
Actually,
say.
even better. I think it was 3 out of the top 4.
Wow.
Was it?
I think so.
Was it really?
I think so. Yeah,
Oh.
that's right. Yeah,
That's
it was.
amazing.
Yeah,
So everyone but Ver.
everyone but Ver.
yeah.
Ver slayed everybody.
Okay.
So bad.
So we gotta get NorCal's gotta
Peter,
get,
you
we gotta
could've-
get a grudge match against
Yeah.
Ver.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, anyway, really cool community. So cool meeting everyone. Everyone's been so nice, and just like seeing the way everyone's been kind of like coming together
Yeah.
Yeah.
over the months has been like really gratifying.
Yeah, all across the Bay, like people would travel to the different events, and like we get to know like cool people from Sacramento, San Jose, from both sides of the Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I guess some of the Final Cut people maybe Sherry and T group knows already, But maybe for you guys, like you've never met them before. I just randomly met them because I was like, they're hosting a event GA, and I drove out there to go play Grand Archive at Sacramento. And that's where I met.
Remember you told me
Stefan,
you're not going to be a Spike. You're like, I'm not going to be hardcore in this
You know
game.
what the reason? I went there for the Merlin deck box. This is during my meta when I was running my Merlin deck. I was like refusing to play any deck but Merlin. After I played the Ferrari 1 week, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing Ferrari.
I could have given you a Merlin deck box.
That's fine. That's fine. I was just trying to hunt for one. I realized that I didn't really need it anyways. But yeah. That's how I met all these people. It's really great.
But
and then I met all your friends, like what, all 30 of them.
Yeah, now you're part of the crew.
Yeah, I know some people now. Know some shit. Seen some shit. All right.
Some shit.
It's cool.
So back on store championships.
About store championships. Yeah. So we had 4 of them in NorCal for DOA. The first one was at Final Cut up in near the Sacramento area. So I was told that they had 14 participants, and the winner was, no surprise, Fire Lorraine, piloted by our friend Remetic, running in Seoul.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remetic
is really good at playing this game. Yeah. He Grand Archive good.
He's also a judge.
Yes.
He's also the judge.
He always tell me what I'm judging wrong.
He's -4 already, by the way. So.
What does that
mean?
Ask Soldar. But I don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
Judge levels?
No, they give him negative points whenever he says something wrong. So apparently on the server he's -4.
It's just some inside joke. Okay.
Yeah, some inside. I don't know.
Because the judge quiz is he's -4 in the judge quiz.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Recently got another minus for something. Doesn't matter.
Sorry, Remetic.
Yeah.
We're just laying it all out there.
You're still the best.
Still the best. Yes.
Still like
correct.
you.
NorCal Judge, go.
Yeah. And then the next 2 store champs that happened are kind of interesting. They were on the same day. I think this was kind of before our organizers were in touch.
Yeah,
and
that was a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
Victory Point's already scheduled our store championships like 2 months before. Yeah. Like they even had a form for us to be able to apply for it.
That's right.
And I think talking to the organizer at Tofu, it was a similar situation for them. We tried to like work something out, maybe to avoid each other, but in the end, I think that was the best day for both of us. Yeah. So yeah, Victory Point in the morning, Tofu in the afternoon.
Plus, both stores. That's when both stores run their regular events, so it definitely makes sense to do it on the same day that people.
They didn't want to change it up for their respective audiences. Yeah. Although it was possible if you went like you can O3 scrub out at Victory Point, drive down to San Jose, and then go to the Tofu one also.
It's like an hour away.
But if you want 2 cards, 2 play mats, you can't do it.
If you like give up on your dreams on Victory Point, you could still try to get that invite driving down to San Jose. If you're dedicated enough.
Technically, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think going forward, there will definitely be more communication. Just like as the community gets more tight-knit, right? I think we'll be okay from now on. But yeah, the first one that happened in the morning, Victory Point Cafe, we had 22 people. And that was taken home by Christian, who was running a really interesting Wind Lorraine / Spirit of Wind.
Yeah. That was an awesome deck. It was only Lorraine only level 1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
This is with the Gildas and Wake Up thing?
I saw him do
Second
the
wind.
12 damage with Gildas.
Yeah, Gildas, Wake Up, Gildas. Okay.
Yep, just like super fast.
I'm already, PTSD.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, you play Gildas, and then you bring out your ornamental greatsword, gets it +1. You attack with 7 cards in hand. Then you play Second Wind, which gives you exactly balance, wakes up Gildas, and also gives it +1. So now it's instead of swinging for 4, it's swinging for 6, and then you swing again for another 6.
The way to counter this, by the way, is you have to kill Gildas on the first turn he plays it. So the key is that on the first turn he plays Gildas, of course he's going to balance it either with a Squirrel, GCR, some way to get equal hands. And then you need to kill that Gildas on the turn back. So if I'm the player playing against this deck, kill the Gildas, you can't leave it on the board. Because if you leave it on the board, you're taking like, Fome is talking about 12 to the face next turn. Yeah,
Fome.
Foam?
Everybody calls
How much foam?
Everybody calls me something different.
Okay, it is what it is. Cool. Next door, Tofu's.
Okay, yeah, and then Tofu's had 12 people, I was told, and it was won by Sean, who loves his Rye,
really
his Arcane Fire Rye.
Yep.
Yeah, Sean's really good. I played against him with like super Fire Lorraine aggro, and I was like, okay, I'll like just aggro you out.
Yeah.
But I still like lost because I died while I was still a spirit of fire. Because on
Partly your fault.
it is partly my fault, but like I didn't kill him on my turn 3, so on his turn 3 he just erupted me to death. But yeah.
And he also runs the Mad Mage, the conduit of the Mad Mage.
Oh, it didn't even get that far from me, so I didn't.
Got it.
But so he conduited you?
No, but he said that it got him some wins.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time I ever played Sean at Tofu, I was running the Ferrari, and he played it to conduit, and I was like, wow, I guess I'm going to take about, it's basically 1, 2, 4. Just keep going.
No, it's good because people will try to do like a water barrier or what's it called? Spell Shield Arcane.
Just gets through all those things. Yeah. Each one is a different instance of an attack. So yeah, it's a surprise for sure.
And then also the fun little fact is that if perhaps Tofu and Victory Point had been on separate days, we potentially could have had up to 34 people at one store champ.
Yep.
Which
Or
is
both.
pretty cool.
Both.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure everyone's going to try it again over. Yeah.
No, we were talking to them like, everybody who was at each of respective store championships would have been at both store championships.
We would have had 2 regionals.
Yeah, we would have double a Houston. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
All right. Okay.
Spoilers?
Is there another store for the NorCal?
Yes,
recap?
there was one last one at Card Art with 20 people.
Yeah.
And that was won by Savon with his Fire Lorraine, also running in
Of course.
Seoul.
He deserves it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he like crushed me so badly.
Yeah, he ran over me too.
Yeah, I think talking to Savon a little bit after we played in the top 8, Savon said his deck was running super hot that day. Draws were good. Every card he needed was there. I mean, and he felt really good. That's the key. Yeah.
And you know what he runs? Spirit's Blessing. I've never seen anyone run Spirit's Blessing. No, I freezing hailed him, thinking it would keep him rested, so
That's crazy,
no insole this turn, and he freaking
He was
pulled out
prepared
a
for
Spirit's Blessing.
your freezing hell, which is like surprising.
Yeah.
So, congrats, Savon.
Congrats,
No.
Savon.
Savon has
Congrats to
two
everyone.
invites now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
I think a lot of our
Guys.
champs have 2 invites.
That's ridiculous.
They're very good.
Yeah. Speaking of 2 invites, should we talk about SoCal Regionals?
Yeah, you were there. Give us the breakdown. How did it go for you?
So I had a lot of fun. I thought it was really interesting just to see like how an actual tournament works, and it's even it also was really helpful because I was able to go to day 2, so playing all of day 1 and really pushing. I mean, I think on day 1 I told Peter, even if I basically have 0 chance, let's say I go 0-3, I was gonna play the whole day out. I'm gonna be the 0-7 like on day 1, right? We did start a little bit later, around 12. There's some issues with like our match like website. Like I think it like deleted a bunch of people's like, records. It crashed and deleted a bunch of people's deck lists or something. It's like issues that were literally outside of every single possible prepared like disaster that they already had. Like the volunteers were really great. They were like, oh, if this happens, we have this. The one thing that they didn't prepare for did happen. So
Was it a challenge?
no, it was Maturino.
Oh, Maturino.
Maturino, yeah. Anyway, so there was that, and then, but just going through 7 rounds, really long day. I think we finished a little bit, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes before midnight on day 1, and then day 2 went from about 10 a.m. until about 7 was when we finally finished. So yeah, I mean, basically, I played every single match possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Given the how I did, yeah. So what I made top. I guess I made 2nd place.
We were watching you.
I got I try to say hi to everybody, all the Bay Area folks. But I got defeated by Ver. I think is fair. I would also say I had a lot of beginner's luck for sure. There were definitely, my deck was drawn really well that whole time, and I know a lot of the players that I played with, that are locals to us, that I defeated definitely were not drawing super hot. But one thing I do want to talk about with respect to playing at regionals was a Water Lorraine. So I knew about like somebody in Florida running this thing and making it pretty high up. I don't know if they won the tournament, but Water Lorraine was on the list.
Yeah, so top number 1 in Florida were shared by 2 people. According to Luxier's map, it was a Water Lorraine and a Wind Lorraine, both had 1 listed next to them.
Oh, okay. So maybe they like split the price or something.
Possibly.
Okay. Yeah, so I was not prepared for this. And funny thing is, the Wednesday before the regionals, I actually started practice with you two, and we just
Secret
randomly
training.
said, hey, let's just practice against Water Lorraine for fun and see the tech. And then that taught me a ton. I mean, I remember I was actually going into regional the whole time thinking like, what would I do with Water Lorraine? Like, what is my optimal line? And so I put a lot of this thought into that matchup. And so, of course, I think it was round 4, I faced my first Water Lorraine. I knew exactly what to do. I mean, like, you do the best with what you have. And so I mean, I knew how to play around Mist. I knew how to, like, I basically would always ask, do you have 6 cards?
That was surprising because, like, when you played against Eva, you lost like 5 games in a row.
Yeah. Too many games. Yeah. It was very scary because I felt like if I was playing against Water Lorraine, I had a lot of problems with the deck I was bringing, right? So, yeah. Counting number of cards they have, understanding when they pass, like what are they holding, and then just basically against Water Lorraine, like trying to build up for a massive turn where they cannot heal out of it would be the right play to do. So
I think like people who are not as skilled, like not accustomed to, like if he hadn't played you a bunch of times, people don't remember. They just forget they have a Sword of Seeking. Yeah, they're like, oh, like they go for the Insole and then try to miss and like, oh no, all my swords break. GG. Yeah, but no, you have true sight sword, so make use of it. Go for a giant devastating. Go for a giant rending with that, or use your Ghost of Pendragon, tuck the swords back in, Ascension your swords back in. There's a lot of play around it, but I think if people aren't used to the matchup, they can get surprised by it.
Yeah. Plus, it's one of those things where I mean, I think a lot of people just didn't expect. The problem with that, is that you would have to have extra cards for the devastating, which you don't because you insult probably with 7, not thinking like, hey, they could miss or what are they gonna heal? Let's say 5. Who cares, right? I'm doing 17 damage, 18 damage. You heal for 5, cool. I don't care. No, it's actually not like that at all. It's you're gonna do 0 or 1 damage, right? And so how are you gonna how's that going to work? And all your swords are broken, so now you can't materialize stuff.
So be patient. Wait till you have like 10 cards and then go for it.
10 cards. You can also insole for every sword but Seeking. It's also another way to do it. If you don't have anything, you get 7 cards, insole everything but Seeking. Force them to play defensive options, right? Which, again, you're just trying to make sure they're not bluffing you with 6. Because they didn't bluff you, now you're still coming in for like 14 damage, still respectful. And now, because all the swords break, your Seeking is going to be super strong, and they can't miss the next turn. So there's ways to kind of play around this.
But now in FTC, when they get the Sword of Seeking, you got the tech against the Sword of Seeking, right?
Oh, Fracture Eyes.
Yeah,
goodbye.
Yeah. So I think Lorraine's gonna get knocked down quite a bit.
I think again, it's just like we'll talk about this more in FTC, but I think like it's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know, right? Because people haven't really tested decks yet. So we'll see how it goes. With more players playing, with more players looking at cards, we'll know. All right, so Sean, I think like one of these days I was asking you about something, and you mentioned the Houston regional controversy. What happened there?
I kind of had like a little bit of a my friend. So shout outs to Ruckman from the Crew 3 podcast. It's a great Magic podcast, all about Pioneer. One of my favorite podcasts that I had always been listening to. He recently got into Grand Archive.
Yes, get him in.
Also thanks to this guy.
Sink into oblivion.
I have to like pull everybody down to my level. But Ruckman's a great guy. He's actually, I think, a Texan. I'm not sure where he lives in Texas. But he's been telling me, he wanted to go to the Houston Regional and stuff like that. So all of this information, he's kind of like told me a lot of it, and also some stuff I've gathered around. I'm not 100% sure on all the details, but there's been like a lot of kind of weird stuff going on with the Houston regionals. Like I think the first thing was when they had to register for the event, which is like I think it was like 2 or 3 months out from the event. The organizer required everyone to submit deck lists at that time, like with the registration, and like when people don't know, like am I going to be able to get into it if I wait too long? Like you saw what happened at Ascent, right?
Yeah.
All the slots filled out.
Yeah.
So imagine if you were like trying to rush to like sign up for Ascent Path to Silver, but you also had to submit a deck that day. Like nobody's that confident in their deck, for a tournament that's going to happen 3 months down.
Yeah, no way.
Right? So like this is kind of like unheard of.
Yep.
And the devs like Silidar, Aldeas, they're like, we'll talk to them. So some like a week or two went by, and eventually I think the tournament organizers for the Houston region was like, okay, you don't have to submit a deck list at the same time. They basically were like, okay, sorry, our bad.
Yep.
So that was fine. And then the next thing that happened was it was supposed to be a 2-day event. It was Saturday and Sunday, and then they suddenly out of nowhere canceled the Saturday, and it said it was only going to be Sunday.
Only, okay.
And you can imagine, because people had planned flights to go in.
Yep.
It was going to be really hard, and if it's only going to be on a Sunday, people have to work the following day. So if people were doing like Saturday and Sunday, they could see if like they would get in day 2 first before they decide if they want to stay for the whole thing.
Right.
But if you're going Sunday and that's the whole thing, then you might not want to risk it.
Yeah.
People didn't know exactly why that happened, but then it emerged that it might have been because there was a conflicting Yu-Gi-Oh event.
Like last minute schedule. Okay.
But
like
and it was like kind of like Konami forced their hand.
Oh.
Like Konami was like, oh, I think originally the Yu-Gi-Oh event was scheduled on a different day.
Right.
And this part is like, I'm not 100% sure on the details. Right. But due to some other snafu, Konami's like, I think they're like, we believe this is the best day for you to do it.
Okay.
And there's like 200 or so Yu-Gi-Oh players or something like that. So if the store was like, no, we already booked a Grand Archive on that day, then that group of players would be really upset.
Right.
So I think they kind of felt like they didn't have a choice.
Yep.
So, Grand Archive, new indie game versus, established big game. Grand Archive got bumped.
Big 3, yeah.
Yeah. So we went from 2 days to 1 day. Houston Regionals rolls around. This is, again, it's supposed to be like, a regionals that has, top 8 all gets invites to the nationals. Yeah. But something like 20 people showed up.
I think Luxier's map listed 21 people.
21 people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. That's less than our store championship, to be honest.
Less than our store championship.
Not like no shade on Houston the scene there. I mean, I'm sure there are some really dedicated players.
Yep.
It's like, isn't it the devs like home base
area
too? So it just seems like due to unfortunate confluence of a bunch of different factors, maybe people just couldn't make it out.
Yeah.
Like schedule changes and things like that. And it ended up being, instead of top 8, it was just top 4, which is still pretty awesome. Because like a quarter of the people or a fifth of the people that show up get to go to the nationals.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I forget. Do you know who won that one?
Houston, I don't know the person, but I know it was won by a fire hybrid deck.
Yeah. That was the Erupting and Fire Momentum deck.
I don't know. I don't remember. There's actually multiple regional winners that played fire hybrid decks, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Like having Rai, Lorraine, and Merlin in their decks.
And then you kind of decide which way you go
depending on who your opponents are.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Neat deck list though, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think with that, we're done talking about DOA, Dawn of Ashes.
Yeah.
Send off.
Otsu, DOA.
It's Curry.
Okay.
Dawn of Ashes.
Dawn of Ashes. All right. So moving forward, we're going to talk about our second topic of the day is FTC release.
Yeah.
Fractured Crown.
Fractured Crown. Okay. So coming off of Fractured Crown release, we have some interesting market data and also, of course, some print run info.
We got the Solo Game special.
We
got to get that finance info.
Okay, so let's talk. You know what? We're gonna kind of change this a little bit. Let's talk about the box info first, because that's gonna probably lead into a little bit what's happening on the market, which I'll share next. So Eva, I think you have data on the box info too. Eva's got all the data.
I'm just on my laptop.
So on top of it,
just pulling it out.
Pull it out right now.
Yeah. So what was the print run of Fractured Crown?
Sure. For booster boxes, we have 41,400 and will not be reprinted.
Okay. So by the way, this is, everyone understand how this works, right? For people who are just Grand Archive people, you don't know how crazy it is that this company shares this info the moment it's released.
It's unheard of. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Look, Magic never shares it. Magic says, "Hey, guess how many we printed?" Ha ha ha, right? Fab, which is like gets a lot of props from the community for even sharing this data, they share almost like 6 months to a year after print.
It got them in trouble too, right?
Yeah,
because there was like the whole debacle with the first edition for Tales of Aria and
Monarch is where the downfall started. Yeah,
because like people didn't know what the print
everyone was guessing, and a lot of LGSs actually got burned too. So let's not even talk about the players who paid $300 for first edition Monarch, but the LGSs who got burned paying like $150, right, or whatever, you know, and they had to kind of eat that too, because, you know, once all the prices came down, the players, I mean, there's a lot of hate, right? Because if you pay $300 and suddenly the boxes are like $110, $120, you're like, what the heck?
So real big props to these guys for being transparent.
Yeah, crazy cool, right? And not just that, for everyone who doesn't know, every single card, you have card data. I don't know why they do this for commons, but you know, you can see how many foil commons or commons there are out there about estimation. Full breakdown, it's all there. But the market is reacting to those numbers because, I mean, as far as I can see, even like within the 2 or 3 days of the GA marketplace, you see CSRs. Like I think the Morgan CSR was one that I saw a lot of postings for, but it went from somewhere like, you know, 750 sold instantly down to 650, 600. I think nowadays a lot of CSRs are going for 500 and maybe even lower, and people are not even like buying them, right? So everyone's kind of waiting because it's like there's probably a ton of supply in the market, and everyone kind of like felt like they missed out with DOA. Now they're finally able to kind of purchase FTC, which is why people were like really, you know, going after
and like the volume of product being open for FTC seems like it's a lot greater than DOA too.
Yes. Yeah, because the boxes are cheaper technically.
Yeah.
And the way that the boxes are designed to allow for like a CSR guarantee per case, it makes it so that you're incentivized to open a whole case, right, by yourself. That kind of, you don't really
have friends that
we understand.
bought multiple cases.
Yeah. So there's that. So the little bit of market info doesn't really mean anything. I would say like, look, if you like Grand Archive, right, and you think the game has any sort of like longevity, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Take the CSR, throw it into a binder, don't even look at it, right? Wait 3 years, see what happens. I'll guarantee you every single one of those CSRs will go up, right? If you like the game, you feel like it has longevity, look, even if you just think like, hey, I really want to play XYZ character in my deck, yeah, feel free to pay. Like if you want to buy it, like this is probably the lowest. This happens in MTG all the time too. Like right at release, when all the card becomes more available for the whole market, everything tanks. And then guess what happens to every single set? They all kind of slowly pick back up. I don't think Grand Archive would be any different than this game.
Yeah, though these early sets, all the singles are going to rise in the long term because this is the fewest amount of players there's ever going to be for Grand Archive. It's only going to exponentially grow from here.
Correct. Yeah, and can you just read for me, like, what is the print run number for Morgan, for example? The CSR? Yeah.
425.
Total, right?
For the foil.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, is that population?
Yeah, that's the foil. Oh yeah, they're all foil. Yeah, the CSR.
CSR?
Yeah. So, like, one way to think about it is, like, there are only 425 of this card available, period, right? And it's forever. They're not reprinting this card, at least not with the signature, this, you know, whatever format. So, once this game has 1,000 players, if even half of them want this card, what's the price? Once this game has, like, I don't know, like 20,000 players, if even, like, 20% of the players want this card, what happens to the price? You can imagine how this works, right, long term. And there will always be collectors, and we have some of these friends, you know, with us too, that they're going to hold on to these cards, and they're going to, you know, sell them back to the market, which means you take the 460, you cut it by some amount, let's say half, they're in a collection or in a box. They're not discovered. So the real pop is like 200. That's really on the open market. And then once they sell enough, no one's really going to sell. They're with the owners that want to keep them forever. So like, yeah, if you think, I mean, if personally, solo games, if I see something that's like pretty reasonable price, I'm probably going to pick it up too. Why not? Okay, so for FTC, we had our sealed event this past weekend. What do you guys all think about general impressions of the event?
Well, it sure looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, how was the event, Mark?
Okay, so for the context, the event sold out, so Eva and I actually didn't get to play. But Mark looked like he was really enjoying himself.
Yeah, a grand old time.
Extra context, Eva had to give up her spot for me, so thank you both. I think you had to give up your spot already for someone else who was walking, right?
I did.
So I think overall the event was really, really good. I think just sitting around, I heard a lot of players talk about how they really enjoy the sealed and limited experience that is different from just playing constructed. It's like a different game, as like, you know, different cards are now viable, which is exactly what the intent, I think, for a sealed limited event is.
I noticed some people that usually don't do that well in our constructive events because they're brewers and they like to play off meta decks. in the top tables for the sealed event.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's pretty
so
cool.
proud.
Yeah. Just like any limited events, I think allies are very strong. So having a deck with more allies, the common mistake I think a lot of players would make is putting too many spells, attacks into their deck instead of allies. So, go higher with allies is probably, a beneficial thing to do. One combo that stood out a lot of tables was the Lurking Assailant plus Mark of the Fervor combo.
That was
Essentially,
disgusting.
yeah, like Lurking Assailant is already a really strong card by itself, and then you put Mark of Fervor, which basically makes it impossible to kill.
Yeah.
I don't
think
think-
I've seen like 3 people doing that combo. I think they're both commons too.
They're both well, not just that. Lurking Assailant you already get guaranteed.
Why?
It's one of the cards that came with a pack of like.
Oh, no wonder.
That's why everyone gets one at least.
Everybody's guaranteed a Lurking Assailant.
And then
my-
like I pulled 3. I did not pull any Mark of Fervor, so I didn't full combo, but I did have 3 Lurking Assailants in my deck because the card is already by itself is pretty good.
So it's like it's permanent, basically perma stealth and attacking every turn and and retaliating every turn.
Correct. You can't attack into it. It's very strong 3/4 if you put the Mark of Fervor on. Yeah, it's tough to deal with.
Gross.
It's really hard to deal with. Yeah.
I was watching people playing. Sean was like, "Yeah, you should main deck Scatter Essence, which is like destroy target Fantasia floating memory." I'm like, "Why would you main deck this terrible card?"
Yep.
And then I watched games with Mark of Fervor and Lurking Assailant. I'm like, "Oh, I understand now."
Exactly. Yeah. Other than that, also like Ordinary Bear is very good. A lot better than I think a lot of people think it is.
Because it was Pride 2.
Pride 2 and Floating
Yeah.
Memory, and a lot of players were playing Sylvie, so you could get Sylvie out, get a bear that's already buffed, so it becomes a 3/4. Then you get the Beast Spawner Ears, and this bear is like live with 3/4, hard to kill. It's really good. So
There are a lot of Sylvies.
there were a lot of Sylvies. Yeah. Also, that's pretty meta. Cool. So moving on to the next section, I do want to ask both of you. Talk about like some of the cards that are your favorite cards in FTC. What are some cards you're looking forward to? Why? Cards.
Sure.
You can start. What's your favorite card?
Sure. Well, as a disgusting Crux player, I'm very excited for the Majestic Spirit
Oh,
and Incarnate Majesty. I think the Incarnate Majesty art is extremely epic.
the beautiful
It's-
ram horse.
The
Deer?
the Pegasus.
They keep saying deer. Now I finally know what deer
Deer
is.
ram horse.
Okay, got it.
Pegasus.
Pegasus
Okay.
with 4 wings.
It's insane. It's insane. Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just excited to bring this card out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it does everything. What can he not do? He does everything.
That's true. It's
The
also
ultimate defensive card. Basically, you slam it down and you're just like, I'm safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then I smack you for 4 each turn.
That's right.
Yeah, and then it gives your champ spell shroud too. So like, Rai can't even like blast you once this card is out.
Oh, the only thing it can't do is save itself from being bounced. But,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah, that's a nice majestic spirit you got there. It would be sad if it was in a fishing accident.
Would be a oh.
If this gets bounced, does it go to your material deck or your
Yeah,
hand?
it goes back to your
Okay.
material deck.
Cool.
Or if it's destroyed, it goes to banish. But Incarnate Majesty can summon it from either your material,
Banish or
or banish.
So it's never truly dead.
Just like all the swords Florian has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet card though.
Yeah.
it's-
Both of the cards are sweet.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely have an impact on the meta, allowing for some of these more reactive or defensive water decks to maybe have a good top end finisher.
Yeah.
Hey,
finally.
finally.
I think water had a chance. I think a lot of people just kind of slept on it. That's why. What about you, Fome?
So speaking of water, I'm also a filthy water player now.
Everybody.
Let's go.
Because
Let's
I
go.
straight up think it's the best color post FTC.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. My favorite card, I don't think it's a good card, but it's a very spicy card.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shenanigans you could do it.
What is it?
And it's Innervate Knowledge.
Okay.
And I think it's the best of the Innervate cycle.
Okay.
So this is a cycle of cards. They all require you to recover 5 life and then de-level your champion to do it. And they each have a different effect.
Yep.
I think the water one is the best. It's just draw 2 cards.
Yep.
So you can do some really funny shenanigans with Innervate cards because when you level up again, you get their enter effects again. So like I've heard some people say they're going to use it to keep de-leveling and re-leveling Rai 1 to get enlightenment counters.
Yep.
And
They
every
draw
time
more
you do it,
cards.
you draw 2 cards too. So you're actually drawing. You draw 2 cards, and itself you spend a card, and then you spend a card to level up. So it's card neutral, but you're getting enlightenment counters every time. So I don't know if this is good, if it's actually progressing your game plan, like getting enlightenment counters very slowly like this.
Yeah.
But it's something you can do.
It's something to do, yeah.
And what I'm doing with it is I am de-leveling and re-leveling Xander Korhazi's what? It's
Chosen?
not Korhazi's Chosen. That's right.
Nice.
The one that gives you Spell Shroud and Stealth, and to basically make a Xander that is permanently Spell Shroud and Stealth every turn.
Yep.
And it's a pretty fun deck to pilot. I don't know if it's gonna win anything, but in testing it's been very
but
interesting.
How do you pay for the level up? I mean, like, isn't that pretty costly?
It's very costly.
Yeah.
So you got to DG a lot.
Yeah.
You have there's 24 floating memory in the deck.
Oh, okay.
And you're tide divining a bunch to dump all these things into your grave. It doesn't have enough to share with Frostrun Paladin. So I don't actually run any Frostrun Paladin because you need every floating memory you can get.
Yep.
And it's very difficult because every time you do this loop, it costs a lot, and then you're not really advancing your board. But you are gaining prep counters very slowly. So eventually, you could kill them with it. No, you would. You have to kill them in one turn with like a 1,000 refractions or something like that.
Refractions,
But that's kind of one of the brews that I'm making with Innervate Knowledge.
Nice.
It's very annoying to play against.
Yes, we've been doing some testing this one.
But then so super fun.
But then you played
Endless
Incarnate
games.
Majesty, and then that has True Sight. And then, so I have played against the Sylvie and your deck with that. And then whenever they get a True Sight big boy down, then it kind of rolls you over.
It's pounding time.
Yeah.
Right, because your defense barriers come down from it. Yeah. So
what's your favorite card?
My so I brought my favorite card actually. It's the Merlin King's. I'm such a normie, right? Like this card I've been like really hot for since I think it was like released or.
Remember when you were like saying how embarrassed you were by the anime?
Oh no.
Same mark?
Look, I could just take the anime art. I don't need the anime art. The part about this card is amazing. So this is the spike in me, right? I see Crux, good. I see level 3, okay, pretty good. I see Merlin, great, useful. So Merlin has a way to kind of like defend. My problem with playing Merlin back in at DOA was always like I would die too fast. 28 health, guys. We already need 28 health is too strong, right? I see Mage and Warrior. Come on, guys. Like at this point, what are we talking about? This card is like insanely good, right? And then of course, I mean, I know in the like when you read the card, it feels like you're taking like every other turn, but I'm sure. If not this set, some other set, there's gonna be some shenanigans where I can turn on this card every single turn, right?
Yeah.
All I have to do is just put a level counter on, right, whatever.
I don't know if that's a good way to play the card, but
hey, it is one way, right? Yeah. And I'm just saying like that. And with that card, I'm now also a filthy water player too because they printed.
God, we're all water players
because they printed counterspell. Like I love the fact that I can just say, you want to play this like Incarnate Majesty? Yeah, pay 2 more. You can't? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Wait, how do we all feel about that the first counterspell in
I think
Frostbind, yeah.
I think it's kind of weak actually, right? So a counterspell like this, I think is pretty weak. There's ways to get around it. There's actually a lot of ways to get around it.
Yeah. So this is
I don't think
conditional
it's very
counterspell.
It's very conditional.
It only works if they don't have the extra 2 that they can pay for it.
Yeah. I do like the fact that it does not go to your graveyard; it goes to banish, which is very key.
It would be unplayable if it didn't have that effect.
Not unplayable.
I'm pretty sure it'd be unplayable if it didn't have that effect.
So if you're playing counter magic or just in general you're playing a thing where you're preventing someone else from playing cards, all you care about is just like making sure their game plan is slowed down, right? So you can progress to inevitability.
That's so if you're in a tempo deck. Yeah. But I just think like for example like if they do their Ensoul and you frostbite it and they didn't send it to banishment, they're just gonna like Cruxite it and do it again. Keep doing it over and over again. And of course, all the floating memory cards, same logic. If it didn't have that bonus, this card would be stone unplayable in my opinion.
Okay. What if we drop 1 cost on it? Makes it 1.
It would be too good. If it were 1, it would be too good.
1 negates go to graveyard is too good.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, it's like a quench actually.
Yeah.
But I think this card is not as good in a control deck as it is in a offensive tempo deck.
Yeah.
Because if you're like gathering up your hand to like Ensoul them, and then they try to play some a defensive spell like they'll let's say they try to Shroud, and then you counter their Shroud also, then it's I think it's strongest in that situation.
I think of this card exactly like that too. One of my complaints of DOA was not being able to interact enough with players. Imagine this against Reckless Conversion, for example. You just stop it. Nope.
I mean, this will definitely change the way people play.
Yeah.
People can't just be like, I'm gonna dump everything down and then reckless.
Yep.
They have to always be like, I have to leave up 2, which could be the difference between I win right now or I wait another turn before I go off.
Right. Yep.
But it's also a card that gets worse the longer the game goes, because at some point people are gonna have like unlimited cards, and they just pay for it.
With Tithe Proclamation?
With Tithe Proclamation, maybe not.
Tithe makes it.
Yeah,
really
that's a good
tough
point.
too. Yeah, so
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But those are some really great additions that we're getting from FTC. That there's answers now to some of the broken strategies.
It'll be fun.
Should be fun. Yeah.
Can't wait.
So I think we're good. That wraps up our first episode ever of the TalkGA podcast. Yay! All right. So I do want to tell everyone that if you have any questions you want to ask us, you can feel free to hashtag TalkGA in the comment section below of this video. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, feel free to send an email to solargamesllc@gmail.com. Make sure you put TalkGA in the subject, and that way I know it's for this podcast, and then we'll address those questions on the show in the future. Cool. I hope you really enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed doing this podcast. So again,
That was a lot of fun.
I'm Mark from Solar Games. We have
Fome.
from Fome.
I'm even like forgetting how to say my name.
Sure,
Matt,
Fome, sure.
We messed with him so hard. Yeah.
And I'm Eva. Thank you for watching or listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, stay classy.
Stay
Stay
classy.
classy.
Stay classy.
Stay classy.
Yeah.